Welcome to Mo to Write, the official Writing at Moravian podcast. Hi guys, I'm your host, Lola Offenback, and today I'm here with Jinu. Jinu, if you'd like to introduce yourself, your year, your major, how you got involved with Writing at Moravian, and anything else you're involved with on campus.
Hi, my name is Jinu. I'm a freshman PT major, and I got involved in this podcast because she asked me in class. I'm an America Reads tutor here, and I'm an aspiring writing fellow. I might be joining the soccer team next year, who knows, and if I'm here still, then I'll try to start a wrestling team.
Wow, wrestling? Did you wrestle in high school?
No, but I don't, so it's like a...
Okay, connected. And then soccer, that's interesting. Did you do soccer? Nice. And then he's currently taking English 213.2 with Chris, which is the training course to become a writing fellow and a writing consultant. And in that, each student reads a chapter in the book Bad Ideas on Writing, edited by Cheryl E and Drew M. Loewe. And today we are going to talk about the chapter that Jinu chose for his writing assignment, which is Leave Yourself Out of Your Writing, which is written by Rodrigo Joseph Rodriguez. So what made you pick that chapter originally? What interested you about it?
I thought it was interesting because normally, when you learn about writing in school, you taught never use I, never use he, her, you, that kind of thing. And, personally, whenever I would write in high school, that would kind of frustrate me a little bit. And it would bother me that I couldn't, it's not that big of a word. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But I would always get scrutinized for doing that. And so I thought it was interesting that was on the book. And I was like, I'll check that one out.
So you agree that it is a bad idea to leave yourself out of your writing?
I do agree.
Okay, good to know. So, what were your, initial thoughts reading the chapter? What stood out to you the most, I guess?
What stood out to me the most was that the chapter author, who was it again? Rodrigo Joseph Rodriguez, was that he agreed that writing, even in the school context, is helpful, and it kind of goes against what everyone says in the education system, and how without, being able to present yourself as who you are, it kind of leaves out what you really want to convey, and you have to put restrictions on yourself, and that makes conveying your idea a lot more difficult.
Yeah. I thought it was very interesting. I listened to the pod or an audiobook version of it, but I thought it was interesting that the author talked about basically how all of your experiences with writing shape your writing, and therefore you can never remove yourself from your writing, even if you try. And last podcast episode 6, I did an episode on my literacy narrative. Have you written a literacy narrative before?
No.
Okay, so it's basically just explaining the experiences that you've had with writing and reading, and that have shaped your current writing. So I thought that was really interesting that it seemed like they connected really well. I think it's also interesting, since I write for The Comedian, as a journalist, you're really supposed to.
The Comedian.
Yeah, write for The Comedian, guys. But as a journalist, you're supposed to leave yourself out of it. You're supposed to be an unbiased reporter. That's what you're taught as a journalist. So I thought this was a really insightful chapter to think about. I know the whole chapter is that it's a bad idea, but do you think there are instances where it could be a good idea?
Yeah, I think, considering your audience is always kind of a factor. In the school context, again, if your professor's really a hard ass about it, you might want to refrain from doing that. Or as you said, being a journalist, whenever you write something argumentative, it should be more useful when you're writing that to not sound biased, to keep yourself out of it explicitly. But again, as you said, everything that you've done with writing is influenced by who you are, really. So you can never really fully take it out, but just not using pronouns in writing in those kind of argumentative instances is probably less useful than it is.
Yeah. And then are there experiences that you have had that you think shape your writing, to this day? Consciously or subconsciously?
Actually, in our class, the environmental writing, I liked reading all the first few environmental essays, like Muir and those kind of ones, because I liked reading all, how they used a lot of adornment styles in the writing, I guess, all these fancy little words and description and everything. Because I like reading memoirs a lot, mainly, as a favorite kind of book to read, and that's not really a big part of it. It's more emotional, and it's less about the words that they use, but in all these things that we've read, it's a lot of beautiful writing, and it's nice to read that and kind of see how it shapes writing now.
Yeah. Honestly, I took creative nonfiction. I think you would really like that class based on what you just said.
Yeah, maybe I'll take it.
Yeah, you should. I took it with Liz Gray. Incredible, but I know Dr. Crook and Professor Harris also teach the course, so you can consider
maybe
it.
I'll see him again.
Yeah. And then, do you think that there is a way that you can incorporate yourself into your writing without using first person or using the word I?
I mean, yeah, you know, whatever you write is going to be kind of how you feel even without using the word I. Because you're putting forward on the page is how you feel. I don't know. I mean, taking it from like I don't know, I guess a bird's eye view without having to include anything specific about yourself is still, you know, what you want to put out because, I don't know, you're writing it.
Yeah. And I do agree with you. Like, I think ethos, logos, pathos are, like, really key points. I believe the chapter brought them up, correct? Yeah, about how, like, you appealing to your audience in any type of way is you inserting yourself into your writing. You want to appear like a credible source. You want to appear to have an emotional investment into your piece, etc. Which I think can be really valuable when like writing, to consider how do you want to be perceived as the author of a piece, and like that in and of itself is inserting yourself into your writing, whether you're using first person or not. So I think that's really interesting. Is there anything else in the chapter that stood out to you a lot?
Yeah, there was one quote that I thought was nice. It was to speak up and be present and not be known in your writing.
I like that.
Yeah, because, you know, writing, you know, you got to have your own voice. You got to develop that as you know, progress in your own writing style. And without, you know, being able to include yourself in that either explicitly or implicitly, you're kind of not really showing your true potential as a writer. And I think that using pronouns, especially in kind of experimental kind of style writing, is really helpful in developing your own style and voice.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, that was the main chapter.
And what has been your favorite part of 213.2 with Chris? Like, assignment-wise, class-wise, dynamics?
I never had a class like that before. It's really fun. I don't think we've ever had a class where more than 20% was the actual class.
Yeah.
The first 40 minutes is like a connection question, and then we're just talking about riddles or whatever and just hanging out. And it's a small class. It's like me, Mac, Jonathan, and a couple other people sometimes. And we're all just like in this little room, people doing their own thing in the background. It doesn't feel like a class. It's like a conversation. But I feel more motivated to do the work for this class than any other class because I enjoy it so much. So it's been really fun.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Good.
It's like a group of friends hanging out. And then Chris is our fucking dad, and then you just...
And then you're not an English major. You're not even in humanities. So what made you want to be... You want to be a writing fellow or a consultant? Or both?
Probably both.
Yeah? What makes you want to do that?
Well, I was going to major in English at a different college, Kenyon.
Okay.
But then I took a gap year because I didn't really want to major in... I didn't want to major in English because I didn't want a career in any English-related field. I didn't want to teach. I didn't want to law, journalism, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But English was my best subject in high school, so I kind of picked with it. But then once I was already committed to the school, I was like, so I took the gap year. And then in that, you know, I was doing a lot of different jobs, and I was an assistant for like a sports chiropractor, and I did some like PT stuff.
Okay.
And it connected a lot with my interest in MMA and athletics and everything, because, you know, I'm not going to go pro in a sport, unfortunately, but, you know, it is what it is. And so this is like my way of being able to stick with the athletics field and also be able to have like a stable career.
Yeah.
And then, you know, being part of the writing fellow is just to satisfy my, you know, want to write more, I guess.
Yeah. Like, you said you've had an interest in it, so. Okay, that's interesting, yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Mo to Write. Bye. I say to my black screen. Oh, God. Did it stop recording?